Hi everyone, welcome back to Desert Isle Forge. My name is Tim, and in this project I'm going to show you how to make a 18th-19th century rotary toaster like this one. This is a long project, so it's going to be featured in 2 videos. If you like to purchase this toaster, it is available for sale on my Etsy store. The link will be in the description below. Please check it out. These kitchen utensils were in common use at the late 18th and then early 19th century. They were used to toast bread at an open fire or a fireplace. They went out of fashion after the widespread of cast iron stoves. The first component I'm going to make is the tray that holds the bread. I'm using a 3/16 by 2 inch or a 5mm by 50mm flat stock that I cut at 8 inches or 20 centimeters long. The first step I'm going to do is heat the material up and just slightly work around the edges, so get rid of that modern mill look, and I'm going to taper the edges and curve them out slightly. So first you're going to work on the edges using a 2-pound hammer, just slightly tapping, getting rid of all the little bit rounded edges and the mill marks. I'm going to go all over the surfaces a little bit as well, giving that more forged, authentic look. And now the other side. As I said, I'm doing this to remove all the mill marks and the little bit rounded edges. This way it looks more like the whole material was hand forged. I'm just using slight taps and light hammer strikes. So now we're gonna chamfer the edge of our tray. That's just to have a more finished look and a little aesthetic feature on it. You just give it a very short little chamfer, and then you're gonna bend the piece about half inch from the end to a slight angle. I'm going to reheat this and bend it a little more. So with the new heat, we're just going to finish off this bend, and I'm just eyeballing here, no measurement. If you like to be very precise with the size of the bend, you can measure it and mark it. I'm just going by feel right now. When you do a chamfer like this, it is easier to work on it on the edge of the anvil. This way your hammer won't hit the anvil and you can have it the full effect of the blow. And finally the bending of the other edge. So this was the forging portion of making the tray. We gave it texture, took the edges off, chamfered the ends and bent them slightly up. But some of the design of these toasters were just straight, but some of them were like this, creating a more nice design in my opinion. So I went with this one. We're going to come back to this when we drill holes into it to attach the grill part and the pivot point. Now on to the tripod part. The second component that we're going to make is the tripod or trivet. I'm using a 1/4 by 1.5 inch flat stock, which is about 6mm by 40mm. And the first step I'm going to do is to split it in the middle at about 6 inches or 150mm long. I marked it with a marker, then I went over the line with the center punch, so I won't lose the line in the fire. So we're going to start and split our flat stock in half. Just following those dots, and I'm gonna cut not all the way through first, but almost. So we're going up to the last mark and slightly cutting. Once you reach that, I like to ride my cut all the way out, but in this case it doesn't matter because we're gonna fold it to a T shape. So I got a good deep mark all the way to the last mark, and I'm gonna put it back into the fire, give it a new heat, and start to cut all the way through. And now we cut all the way through. As you can see, I'm using a sacrificial plate to protect my tools, my chisel and my anvil as well. And once you see a dark line in the center of your cut, you can flip it over and just make the final split that way. Right there. And we heat it and repeat this process until we cut it all the way to the end of the mark. When you're doing splitting like this, it is very important to have your material heated up to a high temperature so your chisels can cut in easier. Now that I split the flat stock in half, I'm gonna open up the two legs and go and remove the sharp burr. So I removed the sharp burrs with the angle grinders to prevent overlapping when I'm forging these legs down. The next step I'm going to do is to fold these back to perpendicular to the main shaft and create a nice flat surface there. To do that, I have to concentrate the heat here to allow this material to move back and reduce the possibility of thinning this area down too much. So now we're bending them out and straightening the legs. And our goal is to push these back and have a flat front. So we're just working on this piece, pushing it back to a true T shape. As you can see, I folded the ends of our legs up. That's just to allow my piece to fit in the forge. And that way I don't need to use the torch to heat it. We're gonna straighten them out and at the final stages. So we're just going with not super hard, but kind of heavy strikes, blows with the hammer. So we push material deeper instead of just tapping the surface. Now we're gonna get in more with the heat here and try to push this area back. So as you can see, I have a concentrated heat where it's meant to be, where it's needed to be, and we just upset the material until we have the desired shape. You can actually do this upsetting by placing this piece on the anvil and hitting it from the top, but I'm actually making two pieces right now, so the other end of my stock is split in half as well, so I cannot do that at this point. So once you're happy with the T shape, you can flatten everything out and start to work on the legs themselves and forge them down to the desired thickness and width. So I folded one leg completely straight, and I'm gonna just draw it out to a parallel about 5/8 to 3/4 inches wide and about 1/4 inch thick. Trying to go around forging it from all directions, giving that authentic forged look of the surface. And continue. So we finished forging the two front legs and shaped it into a T-shape. Now I'm going to concentrate on the third leg and the handle part. Well, third leg actually is going to be attached by riveting. We're going to draw this down to about 3/4 inches wide and keep the 1/4 inch thickness, which is about 20 millimeters wide. And I need about 6 to 8 inches length before I will shape the handle, which is going to be an additional 5 to 6 inches. So I'm going to heat this area up and then start forging. So we start forging the handle part down to 3/4 of an inch width, or about 20 millimeters width. So I'm going to leave a little bit more wider area right at the beginning of this part. That's where the tray will pivot. So I have enough material to drill a larger hole for the rivet there. I'm gonna move these out of the way a little bit so I can get in closer to the junction. And I'm gonna reduce it just a little bit. Before I start to continue down the shaft. And then we continue forging until we reach the desired length. So now I've finished forging the shaft of the tripod. I'm going to focus on the handle part. I'm going to create either a elongated diamond or an I shape, and then flatten out each way and creating a ridge. Also, I'm going to create either a hook or a loop at the end for hanging the instrument. So to do the handle, I'm going to forge two tapers opposite one of each other, and then I will reduce the width of the material as well. Later I'm going to flatten it and create a ridge in the center. So here we are working on these, the handle part again, creating that elongated diamond shape that I'm actually going to turn into a rounded oval because I have some plans and ideas with that. But basically just taking off this sharper corner. I could cut this off from the entire bar at this point, but it's still easier to handle this way, and this way don't have to use my tongue to hold it, which is always less control than just holding a bar. So. And you can see I created this shape. We're gonna widen it and flatten it a little bit, and this end will just form a nice little circle disc shape, and then we're going to drill a hole there to create the hanging point. Sorry guys for the little bit of babbling today. I'm having a sore throat, so bear with me there. Now we're gonna cut this off finally and shape that end to a circular piece, a disc-shaped piece. So we cut off the piece and separate it from the rest of the big material, and we also treat it a little bit by taking off the corners. And now I'm just using the hammer to shape a rough circular disc at the end. And then this will be, the edges will be hammered and chamfered and flattened out a little bit. And now I'm just going to work on this until I'm happy with the overall shape, and then I'll come back to you and do the chamfering and flattening of the handle part. So now that I'm happy with the shape, I'm starting to flatten and widen the handle and creating a ridge. I'm tilting my hammer to the side and spreading the material out. I don't go too crazy because I don't want it to be too thin. So I leave about a couple millimeters, or about an 1/8 of an inch thick at the edge. I'm back with the smaller hammer to continue the shaping of the handle. Now try to create that continuous line in the center and have a nice feature. After I'm done with everything, I'm gonna touch up the parts with a file, which was common practice back in the days, and I'm gonna give some small little details with the file to make it more authentic and more fancy as well. The same thing as with the handle part, we're gonna just tilt the hammer and going around and around and around, and chamfer the whole edge of it. Now you can still shape this the circle, but again, I'm going to come back with a file because this won't have a rough forged look to it. It's going to have a more finished look to the whole instrument, which is period cut if you look at those artifacts. And I'm just using kind of light hammer strikes to do this. And this will get a hole, and that's where these kitchen instruments were hung on a rack. And actually, at that period, they have very similar handles, spatulas, forks, toasters, pans, trivets, all kinds of instruments had the same looking handle. So we finished forging the handle of the toaster. We have this oval, elongated oval shape with a little ridge in the center, and then a disc that's gonna get a hole for hanging. Next step, I'm gonna unfold the legs and cut them to length, and then we fold them, create a little widened area at the end, and I'm gonna also fold the handle up and out. So here is the trivet part of the toaster. I cut the length at 5 inches long, about 12 centimeters, and straighten everything out. I like to straighten everything out before I start bending. The next step is going to be bending the front legs and flattening the feet a little bit, and then I will bend up the handle, creating a little bit more clearance. The third leg of the tripod will be riveted around here down. So I just gave a short heat with a torch, and I'm just gonna bend this down first, and I'm gonna match it on the other side as well. I'm using the curve of the horn of the anvil because I don't want a sharp bend there, just a little bit of a radius one. And so here's the other side. I have to match the curve of the other one a little bit more. I'm kind of happy with that. I can straighten up on the side of the anvil. Make sure everything is parallel. Making sure everything is parallel and straight. Now I'm going to bend the little feet back. I might give a little bit more of an angle here because I might be too flat here. So I'm going to give just a little bit more, bend it a little bit more of an angle. This will increase the height of the tripod a little bit. I'm going back and forth and straightening everything. I'm going to do the other side now. Make sure that everything is nice and straight. Beautiful. Nice. You can see the angles are a little bit more steep and a little pretty close. So I'm gonna bend back the little foot, making sure it's parallel with the top of the trivet. And then I'm gonna flip it around and flatten it. So we're gonna finish the final bend of the handle. You're just creating kind of a Z shape, bending it that lifts the handle off center of the the rest of the trivet, giving a little bit more clearance there. And it's not much to it, just like that. So here we are, we finished forging the trivet part of the toaster. This is the most complex single part of the project. And as I said before, I'm going to give it a lot of details with the file on the handle part, the feet, and also going to dress the whole thing, which was common practice back in the days to finish off things with the file, since they didn't have a grinder or a sander. So this is it, guys. This is the end of part 1. We're going to continue the project in the next video, so stay tuned for that. If you like to support my channel, please subscribe, like, comment, and share, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.